hand. Some of them a talk about them article, ooh, but them a artificial. Some of them a chat about big respect, ooh, but them are the biggest suspect. While some a come and say about them check for you. Watch your life and they will take it from you. What you call it?
Operation since 1752. Now, after the black loyalists came and left, the next major influx of black people in the province was the main result of conflict. This was in 1796, and these were the Trelawney Jamaikan Maroons. Now, I'm not sure if you folks are familiar with your Maroon history. Well, in 1796, the white governor here in Nova Scotia, John G. Wentworth, was afraid that the French dictator was going to attack Halifax. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with when Napoleon would attack Boston. Well, he picked Boston over Halifax because the Maroons were here. Now, John G. Wentworth was afraid that this dictator was going to attack Halifax. He was also aware of the situation of the Trelawney Jamaikan Maroons. Now, over quite a few years, there were various Maroon wars in Jamaica. After the Third Maroon War, they finally signed a treaty and had peace. Now, the British were expanding their territory, or they were wanting more land in Jamaica. So they said that Trelawney Jamaikan Maroons broke the treaty. They didn't. That was just the British excuse for kicking them off their land. Now, John G. Wentworth was aware of this, but he was also aware of the fighting tenacity of the Haitian Maroons. So he sort of tricked or convinced 550 to 600 men and women from Trelawney to come here to the province of Nova Scotia. When they did, they were that much of a deterrent to Napoleon Bonaparte. So he went to attack Boston as opposed to Halifax because the Maroons were here. Now, like the black loyalists before them, the Maroons were discriminated against. The Maroons had different religious and marriage practices in Jamaica. Now, when they got here, the Nova Scotia government wanted to impose a lot of restrictions on them. And due to the fact that the climate was a little bit different between Nova Scotia and Jamaica. So after 4 years, the majority of the Trelawney Jamaikan Maroons went someplace else to go. Does anybody have a guess as to where? No? No, not back to Jamaica. Remember the black loyalists that went to Sierra Leone earlier? They weren't happy about their situation, so they started a rebellion. So they relocated the majority of the Jamaikan Maroons from here in Nova Scotia to Freetown, Sierra Leone, to put down the fight and the conflict that was going on. Now, the bridge that you see there, that there is the Angus L. McDonald Bridge, or as others like to call it, the Old Bridge. And some even like to call it the Cursed Bridge. Why is it cursed? Well, ever since the mid-1700s, there's been a bridge across the Halifax Harbor. When the first original wooden bridge was under construction, one of the construction workers fell in love with one of the daughters of a local First Nations people, the Big Mom. Her father, the chief, didn't like that union so much, so he put a curse on the bridge. The first bridge was destroyed as a result of fire, strike number 1. So then they built a replacement bridge. On a beautiful sunny day, well, pretty much like today, that replacement bridge, it just fell, strike number 2. So we're just waiting for this third bridge here to collapse now.
Hopefully not today, though. You got the word on this.
Actually, I'm just kidding. Before they opened this modern structure that we're traveling across in 1956, they had another Mi'kmaq elder come in and remove the curse. So we hope or pray that this here bridge is safe. This here bridge is just over a mile long, and it connects us to Halifax's sister city, the city of Dartmouth. Now, the city of Dartmouth was founded 1 year after the founding of the city of Halifax in 1750. And it was originally 355 settlers from Gravesend and Plymouth, England. Now, after the Jamaikan Maroons came and left, the next major influx of black people in the province was the main result of conflict or war. Aside from the lady that read the book, does anybody know what conflict or war this may have been? No, it was related to the Civil War. About 40 years earlier, roughly 40 years earlier than the Civil War. Right, the War of 1812. Between 1813 and 1815, 2,100 black war refugees from the Chesapeake Bay, Delaware, Baltimore area of the United States, they came here to Nova Scotia. They were first quarantined at a place called Melville Island, then eventually they were relocated to the black communities of Beachville, Lucasville, Hammond Springs, as well as Africville. Now, just a little sidebar. Alcohol here in the province of Nova Scotia, that is a racket controlled by the provincial government. You can only go to the special provincial government-run liquor store, such as this one you see right over here, NSLC, Nova Scotia Liquor Commission. The legal drinking age is 19 years of age. Although drinking and driving is illegal and a problem, at some of the government-run liquor stores, that one right over there, they have a drive-through window. Yeah. It's against the law to drink and drive, but they have a drive-through window. Now, after the black refugees, we have what are known as the late arrivals. In the late 1800s, early 1900s, when mainly Caribbean immigrants from St. Kitts, Barbados, St. Lucia, and Guyana, they came to the province of Nova Scotia, mainly settling up on Cape Breton Island to go to work in the steel and coal industries of Cape Breton Island. Now, out of the total population of Nova Scotia, just under 1 million, the population of those of African descent is around 37,000 to 39,000, with an indigenous black population of around 27,000 to 28,000. Now, what I mean by indigenous black Nova Scotians, those who can trace their ancestry back to the black loyalists, the Jamaikan Maroons, the black refugees, or the late arrivals. Now, the province of Nova Scotia is the first and only province in the country of Canada to appoint an African Canadian, or in this particular case, an African Nova Scotian woman to the position of Lieutenant Governor. And the Lieutenant Governor is the Queen's representative for the province of Nova Scotia. You'll see the Esso service station there to the right, or to the left. You folks may recognize it as Exxon Mobil. We have regulated gas here in the province of Nova Scotia, and I don't know if you noticed the price, but it was $1.05.4.
Wow.
That's what we pay for a gallon of gas here in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
Now just kidding, that's what we pay for a liter. You only pay for a gallon, you take that $1.05.4 and multiply it by 4.1 or 4.2. Do I? Not to be smart, but do I maintain my African features, or? I mean, I can trace my roots here in Nova Scotia back to the black loyalists. And my great-grandfather on my grandmother's side, or my father's grandfather was half Mi'kmaq and half black. He grew up on a reservation. He could speak the native tongue. He could make bows and arrows and all that other stuff. Now, when you go up to north, like in the Preston area, and particularly when you go over to Africville, you can see like the name Grant. They can trace that back to the Jamaikan Maroons. Plus, there isn't an African Nova Scotian here in Nova Scotia that doesn't have some Mi'kmaq blood or First Nations blood in them. So, yeah. And Grant is they consider a Maroon name. Simmons, if you're oh yeah, Simmons is quite a popular name here in Nova Scotia. Now, we will be going up to North Preston, which is the largest indigenous black community. I don't know how many people we'll see, because some of them will be at work. But you can sort of tell those that have maroon blood, just because, well, they're a bit darker. Well, no, there are Bartons here in Nova Scotia. So, Cromwell, Mitchell, O'Reen, Jackson, Jacqueline, Simmons, Smith, Barton, Carberry, Downey, Willis, Williams, Bernard. Those are just some of the African Nova Scotian names I can list off the top of my head.
I think they also sound like Iroquois names too.
A little bit less, Iroquois. But if you were to go to, like many people from Freetown, Sierra Leone, have come back to Nova Scotia, tracing their roots. And many of the African Nova Scotian names, you'll find those same names in the Creole culture of Freetown, Sierra Leone. And that's Creole, K-R-I-O, not Creole like you might be more familiar with. And the Creole culture of Freetown, Sierra Leone is a combination of the indigenous Africans, the black loyalists, and the Jamaikan Maroons that have gone there and mixed together. Now, the provincial tree here in Nova Scotia is the red spruce tree. The provincial dog is the duck-tolling retriever. And some say that's Canada's only true real breed. The provincial bird is the osprey. Does anybody have a guess as to what the provincial flower may be?
Maple leaf.
No, the leaf's not a flower. The mayflower is the provincial flower. And the provincial berry is the wild blueberry. And of course, we celebrate Black History Month here in Nova Scotia, although it's known as African Heritage Month. And the brochure making its way around was produced by the Department of African Nova Scotian Affairs. Now, due to the long and historic history of African Nova Scotians here in Nova Scotia, the province of Nova Scotia is the only province in the country of Canada to have a Minister of African Nova Scotian Affairs. Now, also on the back of this brochure, you'll see a list of the various other African Heritage Month collaborators. Sorry. We're actually called African Canadian, to be specific, but February is African Heritage Month or Black History Month. Now, when you get to the Black Culture Center, the Chief Curator, Dr. Jimmy Bishop, is going to give a brief presentation. And you're going to hear about the history of the Black Baptist churches. Now, over the years, the Black Baptist churches here in Nova Scotia, they have been known for setting records for the most number of people baptized at one time. Now, this here picture of the Black baptism was taking place right up here on this here side on the right. Now, the Black Baptist churches are on the left. Now, the Black Baptist churches way back in the mid-1800s, they set a record for having the most black people, the most people baptized at once, with 20. And a few years later, they set that record again by having 40 people. And they set that record again a few years later by having 60 people. And I believe the record stands that, right where those houses end, that's where that picture was taken place. Now, I believe the record was held where they had like 160 African Nova Scotians baptized at one time. We're passing by the two largest lakes in the city of Lake Mi'kmaq and Lake Bazook. When you see that green building to the right, that there is the Atlantic Superstore. That there is a local grocery store chain servicing Atlantic.